There we go. Boy, technology is not working so well these days on StreamYard. Hopefully, the premium players like me can get a little bit of a break there. But okay, we are now live on Sportswire Radio. We are live here in prime time, the brightest lights, the biggest stage. We're going to talk about what happened here on SmackDown, get a little bit of thoughts on AEW, get you ready for Bash at Berlin, All In, and everything else in between with three of my guys. One guy, TBK, who took a little bit of a slight detour. He'll come back here shortly. We're joined by our senior wrestling analyst, the man that dabbled a little bit in the wrestling world, Mr. Randy Dillon, also the host of the Hockey Fan Chat, and the man that I'm still always perplexed at why he doesn't wear his shirt when I'm wearing it for him every time we're on the air. And we're actually going to see him real soon. Once again, I'll have an announcement for that shortly. That is the trendsetter, Alan Michaels, who's, of course, one of the premier stars in Tennessee backyard wrestling. And, gentlemen, how you doing tonight?
It's Friday, Tom. Happy to be here.
That's good. Good to know we're alive and well on a Friday. And I guess we'll talk maybe as we always do to kind of talk about what happened at SmackDown, the end of it. What did you guys think? And just overall reactions on tonight's show.
I think it was a pretty good show, but I think the thing that I saw that stood out the most to me was Kevin Owens bringing back the pop-up powerbomb. I mean, that's just a move that I hold very near and dear to my heart. So
you have nice a move you're working on also recently. I think that's kind of what it's tied to, my friend.
Got you a little bit. I've been using the pop-up powerbomb every now and then, and I think it's a pretty solid move. And to see him, he does it beautiful every single time he pulls it out. So I mean, it's just a sight to see every time.
What about you, Randy? Anything else that comes to mind? I'm sure we'll obviously talk about near the end of the show. We'll get into some other thoughts, get you ready for yet another big show in WWE. And any other reactions?
There's two things I want to mention. First, I just want to acknowledge the passing of off the second half of the Wild Samoans, his brother.
Died this afternoon. Sure.
Yep. So definitely these guys were pioneers, trailblazer for the Onawang family, what they've done to help others, such as Dave Batista when he first tried out. So just condolences to the family. But two things really stood out to me on SmackDown. One, Blair Davenport, when I know there's a lot of people complaining about, oh, Naomi should have won her hometown, but Blair Davenport winning is a big indication that the talent in the women's division is so deep that everyone needs to play their part. Yes, Naomi winning would be great in her hometown, but if she won, then Blair Davenport, after making this big impact, attacking Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, would all be for nothing. So I think her winning definitely keep things on track and keep things rolling. The other thing as well, Jacob Fatu, the guy definitely hurt. We saw in a walking boot, and you can tell like he's in pain. Like, I'm interested to see how it's going to work next week in that tag team match with him and the Street Profits, because that boot, like some of the, with his high impact, his movement, that boot's going to render. And then DIY versus the Profits. What a match. I'm just going to leave it there.
Some really good analogies there. TBK, obviously good to see. I know people are starting to work their way into the stream here shortly, but anything on SmackDown that stood out most to you tonight?
I mean, honestly, to me, the thing that stood out the most was obviously that Jacob Fatu works better in a wrestling boot than Solo and Tama combined. The guy is an absolute star, and why they didn't pick Jacob for Roman's enforcer, I'll never know, because I mean, he's clean, he's safe, he's intimidating. Dude, Solo's a goof. I'm sorry, like, I'm not, I'm not buying him as tribal chief, let alone enforcer anymore. He's just a parody of Roman at this point.
Well, I mean, that was, you saw it during the show, and they talked about who would be the tribal chief. If Roman wins, he goes back to the chief, and I guess we're going down that road. What did you guys make of that?
I think it's all part of a bigger ploy, because they're the final boss, I think, pulling this tag. Because I think with Solo, because to put TBK's point, Solo was kind of already in the developmental at the time when they brought him up and Triple H just took over. So I think at the time it was just who they could bring in. And I think so definitely Solo, no tribal chief. He's not even close to Roman's level, but I think there's something you can see to work with him down the road once this whole bloodline ends, story ends. Like there's something you could see Solo doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think we spoke about that last week on the show. Was he right to be in a main event with Cody Rhodes? We spoke about that. But you look back also, and this was a guy last year that manhandled John Cena. So, WWE has an eye on him. Jacob Fatu definitely is a guy that, is one of our recent guests wrestled him, obviously praised him, Tarzan Duran. But, he took him a long time to get to WWE for a number of reasons, and he's here. But okay on that. And also good point, Randy, on, really two wrestling losses that we didn't mention in the last week. The first one was Kevin Sullivan. Kevin Sullivan, obviously a huge part of WCW, a man that many ways kind of was one of the guys that wrote the whole NWO storyline, and also a huge part of just wrestling history in the Northeast and elsewhere, up and down. Helped a lot of the old original ECW guys get into WCW once upon a time. Passes away at the age of 74. And then you mentioned Afa Noe. I mean, 81, just, obviously a man that I was looking at my Facebook post, and a guy I actually happen to know, RJ Carnage, is actually spent time with him recently. And we've had some guys on this platform, a couple of them that have some experiences with the Inoue family. Just, horrible news there, unfortunately. But, 81, still nevertheless just very sad news. But, what else did you guys think was interesting? Blair Davenport was kind of an interesting one you brought up, Randy. Anything else anybody wants to share and such? Anything else? No?
I was just going to say real quick, you've got to give props to Roman Reigns. Okay, I mean, the guy lost his dad a month ago, and to turn around, lose his uncle, and still come out, command the show. I mean, what he said is true. It's his show. I mean, I think here lately, and this is just my point of view, feel free to disagree or whatever, but I feel like SmackDown is being booked rather lazily. I think they're booking it just to get to Monday. You know what I mean? Like, I remember back when we were talking during the build-up of the build-up of WrestleMania, we were saying that SmackDown for a while started to feel like the flagship show. When Monday Night Raw was going through its rut and we were waiting for Fridays, I feel like now I can't wait to get to Monday. Even with Roman being back, like I know it's slow right now, and maybe I'm just impatient, but I'm really hoping it picks up.
Do you think that's because SmackDown's going to a new network, and we've got maybe 5 more SmackDowns, something like that, 5 or 6 more SmackDowns, and that ultimately says, you know what, we're transitioning. They're already advertising, NXT on CW. I don't know if that's going to really replace SmackDown in a sense, but we know SmackDown is moving from Fox to USA. We know NXT is moving from USA to CW. There's a lot of moving parts with that. Do you think anybody here that has to do, from what TBK is saying, that they're changing over networks, and that has something to do with all this?
I think sorry, Alan, go ahead.
I just honestly think that, this is also, we're still coming off one of, if not arguably the greatest storyline that the WWE has seen in the past, 30 years. So, I mean, it's hard to follow that up.
You're not going to get a 10 out of 10 every week, basically.
Yeah, I mean, and it goes back and forth throughout the years. SmackDown was running it when, Roman was champion. He was showing up on SmackDown. The Bloodline, ran everything. SmackDown was up. But then you had the whole 2010s where it was pretty much Raw was the flagship show. So you have those times where you don't have your hot storylines, and right now the hot storyline is on Raw. I mean, they have the McIntyre Punk. You got the
Liv
Wyatt
and Don
Six,
Rhea, yep,
Liv
the
and Don
Wyatt.
Maria, and you have Gunther's your new world champion. You know, like, I mean, it's a lot going on Raw. I mean, you really, it's hard not to tune in. SmackDown, you know, it's cool, but the Bloodline story as of right now is just not at its climax. It's still building up. So I feel like it's going to build up all the way to Survivor Series. And I think Survivor Series is where we're going to get our, like, pretty, not the big payoff, but it's going to be, it's going to make it more interesting, I think, past Survivor Series. Whatever happens at Survivor Series is its make or break moment, pretty much.
You know, that's a good point, because if you think about it, right, everybody has a build from, I guess, Survivor Series into Mania season, but really, it's all said and done. I mean, now we're basically really kind of in the middle of everything. Not to say that WWE is in a lull period. It's never in a lull period. They have hours worth of programming, but you know, you could look at it and say, well, I have to get from point A to point B, and maybe that's my transition. And again, we have this bloodline thing that's kind of, you know, developing into different things, and maybe that's kind of where they're trying to pivot. It almost is like if you played basketball and you went up and you grabbed the ball, and then you had to figure out, okay, how am I going to get back up the court? How am I going to be able to go set my offense in motion? Well, if I'm the guy that's got the ball rebounding, it chances are I'm not the point guard. So I have to find my point guard to get my court ready for the guys to go up and try to set the next play. So maybe that's kind of a way you could look at it in a sense. And maybe WWE just kind of caught in the middle of its next transition period. What do you think on that? Go ahead, Randy.
The other thing, the one thing I want to add, Tom, is that I think the SmackDown roster is a little weak right now. I think with Raw, you have, like, we've seen the emergence of Chad Gable and the New Alpha Academy.
You got the Wyatt Six storyline. You got obviously Sammy and Uso. Yep.
Like, you have a lot going, I think, a deeper talent to build with Raw, where SmackDown, like, we're kind of seeing the same stories replaying. Like, we had another great match with Carmelo Hayes and Andrade, like Santos Escobar, LA Knight, like, and you kind of see the same thing kind of similar happening every week, where you're not getting like someone else coming in changing it up. Where I think that's where SmackDown, and I think it also affects with Cody Rhodes. Like, look at AJ. They start off with AJ Styles. He's gone. But he's coming back. Bobby Lashley, I think, leaving put the hole there as well. So they're trying to build up a guy like Giovanni Vinci, where same with Raw, like Pete Dunne and Sheamus. Look what those guys are doing. SmackDown, I just feel right now, doesn't have that talent where they can kind of keep things going, where they're kind of doing the same things.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that goes back into a transition period. You know, you brought up Andrade. He came back at the Royal Rumble this year, right? There was a lot of hype and excitement for him, but you know, his 6 months, 7 months in WWE, it's been kind of, I mean, you know, you mentioned Carmelo Hayes. Okay, I mean, maybe there's still hope there. LA Knight won a belt. I mean, so you got to be excited about that. I mean, I guess when you think about the SmackDown storylines months ago, SmackDown had maybe the storyline that everybody was talking about, but Raw right now has those storylines because you got Wyatt Six, you got the whole thing with Liv, Dom, and Ray, you got Gunther now as champion, you got this Judgment Day situation where is that going? And I mean, you've got just the whole, you know, like you said, Chad Gable's become interesting. So maybe
Bronson
SmackDown
Reed destroying people lately.
Bronson Reed. I mean, look at what he did to Seth
Braun
Rollins.
Breaker.
Yep.
Braun Breaker. I mean, so if you think about all these names, you know, R-Truth. Look at what he did to R-Truth, Bronson Reed on Monday's show, and SmackDown doesn't quite have those things. It's just it goes in circles, maybe. Yes,
Now,
Alan.
I do think SmackDown will start to heat up once we see the inevitable Sami Zayn and Jey Uso to SmackDown. Because if you think about it, Jay's pretty much done all he could on Raw. I mean, he's pretty much in no man's land right now. Sami Zayn just lost the belt to Braun Breaker. I mean, they're in perfect positioning to make the jump back to SmackDown.
And that would mean that the Bloodline storyline is going into a new level, huh? Basically, right?
The only thing that I don't like right now is they're not downplaying Cody's reign, but his reign as of right now, he's not even the flagship person on his show. Like, he's not even the top guy on SmackDown. Roman right now is the top guy on SmackDown. So it's it's Cody's champion, but is he really?
But you
the
know, it's
top
funny you
guy?
said that, and I know, well, there's a few comments I'll get to him shortly. But if you looked at it, right, Cody was chasing this championship. This was going on for 2 years, and he wins. And wouldn't some people have said, well, where do you go from here? And Roman being out for as long as he did, I guess people, they realized what they had was good, and they wanted to cheer Roman all along. And Cody's kind of, I don't want to say Ultimate Warrior after he won the title over Hulk Hogan in WrestleMania 6, but yeah, kind of, he's got that feel. I mean, he's got the belt. Nobody's saying he's a flop. Nobody's saying he's a failure, but this whole bloodline thing, you just mentioned Sami Zayn and Jey Uso. So that means you're telling me that storyline's continue. Cody's got the belt, but really, when the inevitable match, I would assume, happens, the rubber match, who wins? It's probably Roman, right?
Cody's stuck in this no man's land, I think, right now, where I think if he was on Raw, he might have been able to get some different feuds with different people going on that keeps his momentum going. But I think with him being on SmackDown and Roman Reigns also being on SmackDown, you have two of your biggest stars, one's overshadowing the other. And that's what exactly happened, where Roman Reigns was gone, he came back, and now he's completely has overshadowed Cody, where Cody's now just in the background and you're just like, oh, he had the champ. Oh, right. We forget Cody had the championship.
Yeah, that's kind of where we're at. You want to say something, TBK?
Yeah, no, Alan pretty much said it. And I said it here recently. I was saying it to my fiance. I am very unimpressed with Cody's run so far. I think it's been lackluster. I do not feel that same kind of energy that we got from Roman. Obviously, Roman had more, but he had the title for 3 freaking years. So, but Roman called it. He called it before. He literally said, "You guys are going to miss me when I'm gone," and he was right. He was right 1,000%.
That is where the heart grows fonder, and that's kind of
absolutely.
Where things have gone. I mean, he was champion for 3.5 years, give or take, and people kind of groaned about how long he was champion. But then, Cody gets it, and people, I don't even know it's his fault in a sense because of just where the situation was and who he dealt with in terms of, he got AJ Styles right away with, again, with all due respect to AJ Styles, I mean, AJ Styles, I don't think anybody believed in their right mind he was going to beat Cody Rhodes. And, that, who you go with first, I think that does go in the first impression. And to go from his feud with Roman to have The Rock entered in that, and then to go and wrestle again. AJ Styles is one of the best wrestlers of this generation, but he hasn't won a big match in I don't know how long.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like I was saying last week. I mean, Cody's involvement with the Bloodline after Mania, him doing things with Solo, it made no sense to me, and I'll tell you why. His story, the whole build-up, his thing with Roman, that it was over. It was done. There was no reason to keep involving Cody Rhodes in what is to become an eventual civil war. And then, like I said, you go ahead and you throw out of left field, I feel, you go ahead and you throw Kevin Owens in the mix, having 2 top faces go face off at Bash in Berlin when they have been subtly teasing Randy Orton eyeing the belt over Cody's shoulder. Why is Kevin Owens involved? Kevin Owens is a great talent, and I'll take nothing away from him, but this doesn't make sense.
But he's also another guy that you think about it. We're here talking post SmackDown reactions and more with TBK, the host of the Be More Talkative podcast. Also, Randy Dillon, senior wrestling analyst of Sportswire Radio, was trained by a Hart member once upon a time. And the trendsetter, Alan Michaels, the man that recently defeated Atomic Titan, the struggling Atomic Titan, But we'll save that for maybe Sunday's show. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice figuratively and literally will also matter. But, it's a good point because Kevin Owens, if you think about it, I mean, another guy like AJ Styles, I mean, he really hasn't won a big singles match in what? I don't know, 4 years maybe?
It's
4 or
been a
5
while.
years.
And
Another
they
guy,
keep.
he wrestled Roman a few times, right? He was in the mix. He was in
Yeah.
that mix for the title. You had a couple big pay-per-views with Roman, but, didn't get the job done. I mean, he's a guy, again, like almost the AJ Styles situation. So you're feeding him with opponents that really... Now, maybe I don't know what the move. Maybe if you would have put him on Raw, would things have been different? But you had Drew there, you had Priest there, and where could he have gotten in the shuffle with that? You had Gunther also. Maybe that would have been more interesting. But I mean, unfortunately, this is what people wanted. He got the title, and I mean, this was the payoff. I mean, unless the payoff would have been to have him drop the title right away, and then figure out where to go from there. But really, didn't this what people wanted though? Didn't they want Cody to win the title? God.
I think the thing that's really screwing up Cody here, him facing Solo so early, because I think him getting pushed into that situation where we all knew they were from after WrestleMania when Solo took out Jimmy, we knew we were going to see Solo and Roman confront. But I
Right.
think
I agree
when
on
they
that.
put after Clash of the Castle where Solo came out after Cody beat AJ, that's where I think really screwed things up for Cody because Cody now got put into this no man's land where he's going to face Solo. You have a Roman Reigns all of a sudden who is returning, who's going to get this big reaction. You don't really know what direction you're going to go with Cody at this point, but you're going to, because my thinking is he's somehow going to be involved in the Civil War at War Games. He's going to be the 5th member of that team. I think that's what they're planning for, but
Which
it
would
really
tease
doesn't
maybe
make
the
sense.
now wouldn't that tease the eventual rubber match?
Or The Rock coming in, or the other thing, The Rock coming in and attacking both Roman and Cody. That's the only other thing I can think of.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I mean, but I mean, I guess you could do that. I think maybe again, Cody and Roman aren't friends by any stretch, and I still think that they're going to have a rubber match, and I still think it could be WrestleMania. So them being on the same team kind of makes sense, right? To tease maybe something happening with them where they get in each other's face or cost each other the match or something like that, right? By inadvertent reasons. Or am I missing something?
I just wonder then, I guess it begs the question, how long are we going to keep putting off matches that have been teased? Like, how long are we going to keep putting off Cody and Rock? How long are we going to keep putting off Rock and Roman? Like, I think we are under the grass isn't always greener on the other side syndrome right now. Yeah, everybody wanted Cody to win. We got it. And now it's like, okay, so now what? We're under the what now phase of the whole thing. And I feel like if they keep delaying things, if they keep pushing it off, then it's going to start losing its luster and people are going to stop caring about it.
Yeah, I guess the only question could be is The Rock's, what can he do in a ring in a singles match? That might be the one question. Do you wait? You have to hold off on him because of age and what he has out there? I mean, those are things to ponder. I got a bunch of comments. Let me read off to some people, and we'll have Rob Maraska here in about 25 or 30 minutes. Rob has an announcement, actually, so we'll see how that goes. We've got some new other things working on Sportswire Radio, so we'll see how that puts up. Zilla is here as usual. I saw Zilla in the ROEW chat earlier today, and I know, Alan, there was a new member that showed up in ROEW, a current champion in the ROEW. I first thought it was Alan Michaels showing up on my screen, but actually it wasn't. It was a current champion. I realized you didn't beat Jay Wild, so it couldn't have been you that showed up on today's show. But yes, Zilla, thank you very much for tuning in. Mr. Michaels, a man you saw here about 13 days ago, and a man that you've obviously had some philosophical differences, Mr. Chaotic, but he's here just to say hello. Zilla, yes, we say hello to him, and Chaotic says hello. Our buddy, Mr. Jake Dvorak. Jake's going to be in your gentleman's chair on Wednesday night's show. He's going to be here Wednesday night to talk about the All Wrestling Matters Hardcore Tournament, which is next Saturday in Worcester, Massachusetts. Jake put on a hell of a show at Star Clash 6, which has generated, I think, closing in on 600 plus views. I got a chance to watch it a couple times already and going to finish the rest of the show later tonight. Jake, good to see you. And Jake was just on a stream I saw not too long ago. Yes, we say what up to Jake as well. Friend of the show here, more or less, says LA Knight having a title is overdue. Yeah, I think LA Knight deserved to have a title. And speaking of people that they didn't have a title, I mean, where could they have gone with that? And I think Chaotic agreed with that. Want to say hello to my buddy, Mr. Thomas Taft, Mr. T3 himself. Thomas, I think, posted on Facebook. He's been quiet since his last appearance on Sportswire, which was about almost like 6 weeks ago now, maybe a little more than that. And we had him here right before July 4th. When he came on, there was a lot of fireworks, but he's waiting for more fireworks inside the ring and maybe outside the ring on this platform. And I'm glad Mr. T3 is doing well and good to see him. Joshua Allen, your employer, Alan Michaels, actually likes to say Styles has been drifting, in my opinion, like his debut with the Royal Rumble was phenomenal. No pun intended. Yeah. And I think that's a good point in a way because that was Cody's first challenger right after the title. I mean, people have talked about Cody's run being mixed, right? So would it have been different if there was a different challenger right away? Would it have been different?
I'm not even sure at this point. If you look at that SmackDown roster, who's really theoretically taking the belt off of Cody besides Roman?
Eventually down the road, maybe LA Knight.
Potentially, I can see Randy potentially
way down.
Yeah. But other than that, there's really.
But Randy's doing Raw though. But Randy's got Gunther, so how could he challenge him now?
No, you can't do it now. It'd have to be Royal Rumble. I'd say Randy and Cody could have their match.
And Randy signed a new contract extension, so that means somebody's breaking Ric Flair's record, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you guys, I don't know if you guys saw the interview that Cody and Randy just did, but man, that was phenomenal. And there's such history there, and I don't have to go into it. I don't have to. I know you guys know, but that's what I'm saying. Like I said, I feel like some of the decisions here lately have just been weird. They've just been odd. Like I said, having Randy go after Gunther, I get it to an extent. But somebody was trying to tell me, it further solidifies Gunther. Gunther doesn't need to be solidified. The guy was a dominant champion for 666 days and brought relevance back.
And
to
whereas
the IC
Cody
title.
struggled and clawed his way, he was the working man. He fought against the odds. He had to go through for 2 years, and Gunther's been this unstoppable force that basically was the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time, and it was really a matter of time. Basically, his runs were similar to, again, a Kurt Angle and a Brock Lesnar when they were in their heyday, whereas Cody, again, but it goes back to me, Cody's opponent. I just think AJ Styles, Kevin Owens now. I do agree with TBK Solo. Sikoa was not believable to take the title, and I don't know, maybe should it have been LA Knight at the beginning? I don't know if that's the move. I mean, you could have went Randy right away. You're saving that, but it makes no sense now because, like he said, look, they're putting him on Raw and they've got this bloodline thing. So there could have been a different way. I just think I just always go back to my thing. First impressions count. And AJ Styles is, again, a phenomenal talent. He is a generational talent. No question about it. But AJ Styles is closer to 50 than he's closer to 30 at this point. And he hasn't won a major singles match in, I don't know, since during COVID. Maybe when he held the U.S. title during the Thunderdome era, right? Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. I mean, that's a poor track record. I mean, and that... Go ahead, Randy.
Sorry, guys. TBK, one thing I want to add with Randy Orton is I think they're doing this as a filler because I think we're going to get a Priest and Gunther rematch because Priest did have him beat in the middle of the ring. So I think they're just waiting to get this whole Judgment Day. The other thing with Cody is this would have been the perfect time to do Logan Paul versus Cody rather than...
Yeah, I thought about that one. That would have been sort of...
This would have been... Champion, rather than doing it at King and Queen of the Ring, where when he was the U.S. champion, they just kind of threw him in there all of a sudden. I think this would have been the perfect opportunity to do a Logan Paul and Cody angle. because Logan Paul has impressed. He lost the title. Okay, he can make a story. Well, I'm done being small time. I want to be the big time champion now.
I got some more comments. I think people seem to be interested in this talk. Let's keep it up. Atomic Titan, your faux friend. I don't know what you call him, Alan. He's your work buddy. You share a locker room with each other. He gives you a weird emoji. Maybe it's because of what happened at Rampage 167. I guess at least you're not Jacob Young, who was here, Alan. That was an interesting conversation. But I think you're going to save that for Sunday's show, right? Sunday you're saving Jacob Young comments for, correct?
I don't know about that.
You don't? Well, I thought you were going to talk about Jacob Young on Sunday. He wasn't too complimentary of you. Well, I might ask you anyway. Hopefully, you're not going to be a filthy stain. But if it's not the cheater, Alan Michaels, now you think you're going to be addressing Atomic Titan on Sunday's show?
Definitely.
But it's funny. You were talking about pivoting. You pivoted like you were so sure to talk about Atomic Titan. But Jacob Young, you were like, I don't know.
Can't be giving people free clout now. Atomic Titan wants to call me a cheater, but
well, that's true.
Is what it is.
I don't think you're a cheater. I just think you were a lucky man. I don't know.
I wouldn't call it lucky. That you shouldn't piss the ref off.
No, that's very true, too. But by the way, get your shirt at the TBW merch store. By the way, it's on sale right now. Redbubble, 30% off, by the way. Craven Rage is in the house. Maybe that's somebody you're going to say is a possible dream opponent of yours on Sunday's show. No, move on. Good to see Craven Rage, by the way. It's good to see Craven commenting. We're very excited about WCE's upcoming show, Rise to the Occasion, Anniversary 3. And WCE's on the way back with some momentum for the first time in a while. Mr. T3's got a good line, though. Hear me out. I really don't think we need the Cody versus Solo team, but I do think it'll be Cody and Randy at Survivor Series. That's a good point. What do you guys think on that?
Absolutely agree. Like I said, Cody should have no further involvement with the bloodline right now. It's family business. Like I said, you're building up to a civil war. Cody has nothing to do with that, and the Anoa'i family has more than enough cousins to fill the spot.
I'm sure there's names. I'm sure. Listen, I am sure that the Inoue family is probably like they're popping out kids eventually, like 20 years from. No. If you think about it, I mean, listen. Georgia Smith, who's obviously the daughter of the British Bulldog, was talking about the fact that Alpha goes back to 1966 with the Hart family. I say it all the time. The Harts and the Inoues are basically like the Yankees and Red Sox, or the Steelers and Ravens in football, or the Bears and Packers for you, Alan, or the Maple Leafs and Canadians in hockey for Randy. And they're the premier families, but really it's the Inoue family. They overtook the Hearts because there's just so many Inoues. I mean, literally right now, I am sure there is an Inoue being popped out of somebody's womb. And, I'm sure that in 20 years from now, they'll be in a ring somewhere, whether it's in the Performance Center or who knows where else. And I would even point out that the Rock's daughter is a part of that legacy, but I don't think she'll be a part of things. And there's always Nia Jax, but Nia Jax doesn't seem to be recognized much in that family. I don't know why, but well, we'll move on. Speaking though of some of my favorites out there, who is one of our women Hall of Famers in the Sportswire radio lore, formerly known as Trinity Parker. She's Ashley D now, and she's also, I think, on her way to doing a podcast soon on Sportswire. Says good evening. How you doing, Ashley? What do you think about what's going on in WWE? Atomic Titan, how many times have you cheated? But it hasn't been recently. It wasn't on 167, but obviously that's something Mr. Titan, I'm sure, one day will answer. Austin Theory was the name. He also says A-Town Down is going to beat Cody Rhodes. Do you guys think that there is that possibility that my friend Thomas Taft says, or that ship sailed a while ago?
Maybe in 3 years.
I hope not.
Like I like
you guys.
I like Austin Theory. I think he can be a believable heel. Like I think he is someone who can carry WWE into the future, but they just can't for some reason get it right with him and get the right get him sticking with momentum. I would say they give him a good gimmick, but they can't just get his. For some, he can't just carry that momentum. I don't know what it is.
I have a good line, and I see some people are in the chat commenting, so we got a good little crowd so far. So let me ask you guys all this question. What's made Dom Mysterio different over in Austin Theory? Because if you think about it, right, Austin Theory and Dom came up, right around the same time to the main roster? I mean, Austin Theory was certainly propped up far more early on than Dom. And it's yet Dom that's a part of some of the biggest storylines, whereas Austin Theory is kind of languished, despite really he's gotten a couple of chances, right, to be a top guy already by now. But yet it's Dom who's kind of again in that spot. So what do you guys think it's made Dom maybe be in the position that Austin Theory would have been in when those guys both came up? What do you say?
Theory was just unlucky to be in that Roman Reigns SmackDown era. I mean, Dominic's been on Raw. I mean, he really hasn't had to deal with the Bloodline. I mean, he's had some interactions with them, but he got put on Raw and he got put in a faction. I mean, he's just doing well. He's doing well with his character. You can tell he's a natural at the character that he's doing. He probably gets a lot of advice. Austin Theory, after that whole Money in the Bank fiasco with him cashing in on the United States champion and losing, that it's going to be so hard for them to be able to get him back to where he was, where he beat Cena at WrestleMania.
Kind of like with Baron Corbin with the Money in the Bank years ago. And
I'd say worse, honestly. I mean, Austin Theory pretty much got buried at that moment. Yeah. I mean, that's embarrassing.
Well, Corbin, though, was the guy that was the quintessential, channel changer. He was the guy. I mean, I don't know if I think Austin Theory has a little bit of an edge over Corbin, but if we're thinking about who has it worse, that's a sad state of affairs. So I guess, I don't know.
I agree with Alan Michaels because I look at Dom and Dom being Ray's son definitely helped, but the Judgment Day, you look at the working with the likes of Finn Balor, Damian Priest, Rhea Ripley, kind of be able to sit back, see how things work, build yourself up. Where Austin Theory, when Vincent J. McMahon's son was running things, he pretty much just got thrown into no man's land of the number one face, and Triple H tried to redeem him after the Money in the Bank and put that in. I really think Theory would have benefited if you had someone to team up with earlier after that whole fiasco with the Money in the Bank, rather than trying to keep pushing him singles, where he had some good matches like the Bobby Lashley, Seth Rollins, John Cena, but I think
he was doing well a little bit with the U.S. title on Raw. There was certainly, like you said, there was a push. I mean, he's got the win over Cena at a WrestleMania, but there's no question he's in that Baron Corbin territory. Drew McIntyre originally, when he was quote unquote the chosen, obviously Drew tremendously turned his career around, but it took him a while. But the fact that we're pondering that's not a good thing. Let me get to some more comments. I see a lot of comments here. Yeah, jump in.
So the difference, in my opinion, between Theory and Mysterio, Theory was they tried to shove Theory down your throat, and Mysterio has a legendary father, and to build off of that, the interview that Dom just did with Logan Paul, Logan pointed it out. He was like, respectfully, he was like, when you first started, you were just Ray's kid. You weren't over by any means. You were, working your ass off trying to just fill your spot. Dom didn't start getting his momentum and start getting his heat or his recognition until he turned on Ray. So having, being the fact that his father, and the fact that Rey Mysterio is so beloved, it was kind of that double-edged sword there, and really
I think
rocketed him forward.
I think it can work both ways. I mean, there's obviously names that shared a last name, legendary. Doesn't always work out. David Sammartino didn't work out, obviously. David Flair certainly didn't work out. I mean, Dustin Rhodes, I guess, did work out, but only really because of longevity and I think social media and kind of looking at him more fondly than he did in his peak run, I guess. But I don't know. He did have a lot of pressure coming off the Rhodes name. Cody didn't have that pressure. I mean, look, it could help, but there's also names where they shared the same last name and it didn't quite work out. I mean, but there's a lot of comments here. Let me get to some people here. my buddy Levi McDaniel, who's getting ready for tomorrow's show in the Palo Community Center. And I know I was a big part of that, and I'm proud to have sponsored the show once again. Cody isn't going to be losing the title anytime soon. Randy doesn't need the title. But does Randy get the title to break Ric Flair's record? Does somebody, I keep asking this, is it Randy Orton or no?
I think it's John Cena. I think it has to be Cena, honestly. I think eventually Orton maybe ends up taking over Cena, but I think Cena's going to be the one to break Flair's record.
Okay, well, Randy's got 16. I mean, that's why I bring it up, and he's got a contract extension. So, but that's a good point. I think we spoke about that last month when Cena announced in Money in the Bank that he was going to have a 1-year run, basically. I got a couple of lines here. I think Mr. Allen kind of piggybacked off what I said, but I didn't read it first. Honestly, agree now that Cody has the belt. What he's now done is what Dusty or Goldust couldn't do in the WWF, WWE, and the whole Rome with the whole Roman and the Bloodline situation. Yeah, I mean, look, that was the whole thing. I mean, Dusty Rhodes never won the WWF title. He had basically really very little success in the WWF. And like I said, Goldust had some success. I think that there was success, but I think, again, his careers look more fondly now rather than I guess it was in its heyday, more or less. I think we will let somebody join in here for a few minutes. Okay, give me 1 second. Let me read off the comments here, and I'll let that person jump in. I can agree it'll be Roman versus Solo or Bloodline versus Bloodline. Yeah, I think pretty much that. Let's see what Atomic Titan would like to say. Watch that back door, Michaels. I could come through at any moment, and you won't see it coming. Is this the person you want to invite?
Pause.
Yikes.
Yeah, pause. You got to pause after that statement.
Well, I was going to say, is that the person you invited? Because, the back door is open, by the way.
No,
It's definitely not.
No.
Yo, pause.
Pineapples. I don't like it. No.
Well, obviously, is somebody looking at your back door?
Oh, God.
Gotta
Run, Alan, run!
Did Atomic Titan, did he like what he saw in the back door during your
Holy crap.
Let's move on. Atomic Titan, boy. Alan Michaels, Atomic Titan, is he turning into like Xavier Thorne territory? Is he turning into like loose cannon territory with that comment? Is that by design?
I don't know what he's doing.
Well,
Alan,
I'm going to say I hope for his sake that he stays in the chat but refrains from, I guess, those types of things. But we'll move on. There's plenty of comments, thank God, tonight. But let me get to this here. Agreed. Don't need Cody in the Bloodline angle. Yes. Well, if Cody's not in the Bloodline angle, that is rather funny, I guess. Let me get to Craven Rage's comment. I agree that Cody shouldn't be involved with the Bloodline anymore. He told his story. They should just do Cody and Randy. Well, right now it doesn't seem like they're doing it. I don't know if
Are they saving that, you guys think, for WrestleMania? Because I mentioned this last week. Could they do? There's a rumor that they could do a triple threat: Rock versus Roman versus Cody. But if they don't do that, are they trying to figure out when to save Cody and Randy for WrestleMania in case it doesn't go down that road with The Rock?
I mean, maybe it doesn't even have to be a title. Maybe it doesn't have to be a title match for that match to matter. Because, like I said, because of all the history there, those two could absolutely tell a story without there being a title involved.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could. I mean, it depends. Are you like I said? I go back and say, are you doing Cody and Roman the rubber match at WrestleMania? That to me, where it depends. That's just to me. That's the whole caveat. I mean, Cody and Randy should happen too because of the natural history. So that's a good point here. Zilla Fatu's in GCW, and don't forget Gary Albright stars in Japan, married to Inoue and a son. See, some Levi knows what the deal is. And I guess I'm going to have a couple of comments here before I bring somebody else up in here, Mr. Allen, that I think is not looking at your back door, not coming through the back door. I would certainly hope not. But Ashley hopefully saves us here. Cody, I'm sure, is doing well. I'm more focused on wrestlers dog walking Logan Paul. Okay, that's obviously that might be something you might say on Sunday's show, Alan, but I'll leave that at that. 2025 Royal Rumble, Austin Theory, lock it in. Either him or Braun Breaker are legit the next up to be Universal Champion. It's about the new age and era. Braun Breaker, right, would be more of a likely possibility. Am I missing something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Braun for sure. Like I said, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here and shit on Theory. He's a great talent. He's clean for the most part. He's technically sound, but like I said, I think the real pitfall that came with him is they tried to force him down your throat. They even tried to. I mean, Vince was trying to tap him to be world champion. And
Yeah, I agree with that.
nobody was going for it. So I think the thing that happened is they tried to do that. That failed. Then they, was like, okay, who can we put him with? Let's put him with goofball Grayson Waller. And now he's stuck. So
well, the Grayson Waller might be the Xavier Thorne of WWE, but I just want to say before I bring on a friend of yours, Alan, or maybe not so much of a friend of yours, Mr. Titan said that he wanted to clarify his comment, and he still meant to say it was the back door behind you, because I thought that's what he also meant, because there is a back door behind you. So I guess those obviously that would like to say things are welcome to, and Mr. Titan, I wanted to stick up for him in this case, but he was here. He wanted to chime in on some WWE things. He's my buddy. He might be your buddy, Alan, but he's everybody else's buddy. Mr. Chaotic. How you doing, my friend? What's on your mind before I get read your chat?
Really, just Smackdown.
What'd you think? So what did you think? And obviously, we're just talking WWE. And what'd you like about tonight's show, my friend?
I agree with TBK. It was pretty weak. I mean,
Randy and I were talking about this off the air, and Randy, who's usually very pro SmackDown, was like kind and gave it like a 6.5.
Yeah, like,
very mid, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Hey, can we talk about that crown that they made for Nia though? It legit looks like they made that shit out of tinfoil. Somebody wrapped that up with.
I guess you can get the Burger King crowns, right? If you go to Burger King, some Burger King still have them. You put the Burger King on the head.
I mean, she's a Whopper, Tom.
Well, she might literally be as big as a Whopper, but you know what? There's a lot of people that like that, and she's still not. She's not unattractive. I think she's a very attractive woman. I think I'll certainly say that. Yes. We'll move on here because Nia Jax is a very attractive woman. We've got a lot more attractive comments. Craven Rage says Dom has that Eddie vibes going on. Yes, he definitely has the Eddie vibes going on.
100%.
Yes, we agree about that. Dom is more entertaining and has better storyline, has been involved with the two top stars in the faction. Yeah, excellent point. I think, whereas, again, Grayson Waller and, had, I guess, maybe that curse of the guy that had initials starting with a V and ending with an M. And, yes, his son is one of the most... Yeah, but I still think it doesn't always work out that way because, again, Dustin Rhodes never won the world title. I mean, again, Dustin Rhodes has had a long career, but it's only recently where his career has been appreciated. I mean, there's David Flair, there's, David Sammartino. So not every guy's last name of one of the greatest wrestlers, it works out. I mean, there are obviously some. I mean, listen, Jerry Jarrett and Jeff Dudley. Jerry was more of a promoter, but, then there's kind of guys in the middle, Brian Lawler, God rest his soul, Jerry Lawler, too cool, was okay. I mean, he had some success,
I get that's why I had said I think it was because and you're absolutely right, Tom. I mean, him being Ray's son could have meant absolutely nothing. But the fact of the matter is I think the best decision that they made for him was turning him heel against his father.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely. I think they set him up. Use the hockey analogy. They set him up nicely to score. There's that. Yes, sure. I think everybody would agree with that. Mr. T3, who, by the way, it's good to see Thomas Taft. I hope to see him back on Sportswire soon. I do believe we should have hotted Gunther and Ilja. What do you guys think on that? No,
it's too. Ilya doesn't have the momentum. He doesn't have the momentum.
Oh, right. That's crazy. Ilya is insanely talented.
But he's not built the way they had the match or even when he came out of NXT.
You know what I think? I'll tell you where I think Thomas Taft's analogy is. He's thinking because it's going to be in a crowd that they're going to have a hot crowd, and that's going to be – he's thinking like British Bulldog, Bret Hart type of stuff. I understand what you're saying in a sense.
But see, wouldn't it be a little bit harder, having Ilya Dragunov versus Gunther at Bash of Berlin? I mean,
what do you do with Dragunov after?
He's saying he'd like to have it in Berlin. That's what he said.
Yeah. That match would have been so good. And I
But
mean,
what-
Ilya Dragunov has already beat Gunther before too.
And that's why he's got the history there
Yeah,
with
yeah.
that. What do you want to say, Randy?
Sorry, I apologize for it. What do you do with Dragunov? Because I don't think they're going to drop the title from Gunther after that. And then Dragunov really hasn't built any momentum. It's kind of like you're just making him a jobber at this point, where this guy's obviously the great talent. I definitely see him could be someone down the line to take the Intercontinental title from Braun Breaker to elevate Braun Breaker more. But it just feels like I understand the Hawk crowd, but I just feel it's just that one moment where you give them the match, and then it's like Gunther keeps rising, but Dragunov gonna go to this no man's land.
Oh, I got some questions and I got some comments, so we'll hang around here. Rob Maraska's announcement's gonna wait a little while longer because crowd's actually into tonight's SmackDown show. Question for TBK and Randy: what's your take on the Wyatt 6 versus the Final Testament? It's a good one from Craven Rage. Is Craven Rage gonna be a part of this? Or I'm only kidding. What do you guys think?
I think the Final Testament needs to go away.
Karrion Kross is jinx. Like this guy can't on the main roster. They can't do he's a good talent. I think a good person, but they just can't get it right with him. Like they've tried everything to get him
100%.
over, and nothing has clicked.
Well,
No,
I have something for you guys.
Absolutely.
Is Xavier Woods joining him?
If they're gonna do a toilet segment, sure.
I feel like,
But there was a level of
Xavier
doubt
Woods-
on Raw. What do you want to say, Mr. Chaotic?
Yeah, I feel like Xavier Woods probably will go to the Final Testament due to the whole Odyssey Jones taking over Big E's spot.
I'm sorry. You said Xavier Woods, not Xavier Thorne. That was my bad. I'm sorry.
That's a different.
Genuinely, that was
Let's
my
not
bad.
go there. I
Sorry.
think I'm
Sorry,
sure
sorry.
there'll be people on Sportswire that will do that at an appropriate time. Alan may or may not say something about that on Sunday's show. I'll leave that at that. But tonight is a lighter note on Sportswire. But Xavier Woods, would that revive the Final Testament a little bit? Because on paper, good point. Karrion Kross should be a guy that should be way more. He's got the wife, he's got Paul Ellering, he's got the enforcers. But other guys, God, shoot.
The only thing is, Paul Ellering is he's not doing anything with the Final Testament.
Yeah, he's
It's
just
mostly
there.
Karrion Kross carrying the whole entire segments and through the whole entire match.
You know what I think when I see Paul Ellering? And again, he's a living legend, but too old. I look at that visually; it's too old.
Yeah, I feel like he's just there at this point to try to give them some kind of validity, some kind of credibility, just to be a name. And I would really think that they would bring someone like him in maybe to be a mouthpiece, but it's not like Karrion's a bad talker. He can talk.
Yeah, I mean that's what I say on paper. He was dominant in NXT. His wife, everybody oogles. He's got guys around him. Paul Ellering's a living legend. If you're bringing Woods in, if that's the move, I mean, that should give Final Testament some thunder, but doesn't seem really like it.
It should, but Xavier Woods is. I mean,
I kind of agree with you.
He hasn't been anything special either. I mean,
Weird.
for the sheer fact of the shock and awe of breaking up the New Day, sure, but is that going to be?
Well, the
enough
New Day have
to-
had such a long run that
you've got to break up the
100%.
New Day. It's going
100%.
on way too long.
It's like
Without
Rey
Big-
Mysterio. You
with-
can't turn Rey Mysterio heel.
It's like without Big
That
E,
would be
they've been empty ever since Big E. I think knew he was never coming back. It just felt like the New Day kind
Yeah,
of.
that's a good point. That's a very valid point. Big E leaving, unfortunately, he may never wrestle again, and that's such an identity of them. I don't. Oh, I see the backdoor reference. So we fixed that analogy there. Atomic Titan said, "Real funny." I'm talking about. He wanted to clarify that. He was swearing up and down that door. Alan, is the door locked?
Yeah, it is.
Exit only.
Exit
My door's not
stage
unlocked.
left. Let's move on here. We have plenty of comments. Ashley says text doesn't translate well. Atomic Titan. He burned Atomic Titan, and he said, "Yeah, I realized that one. Boy, Atomic Titan's gonna live that one down, but that's okay. It's all good. We love Atomic Titan. Would be trippy if somehow Orton got the title going into 25. And I think we mentioned this on a short. Could be. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, you'd be tempted to do it. You'd be tempted to. I don't know.
Oh, I mean, again, so like I don't want to bring up the same point, but if you guys have watched the Cody and Randy interview that they just did, they spent and they both brought it up during the interview. They spent more than half of that interview talking about John Cena.
Yep.
Randy Orton highly regards Cena as one of the GOATs, as one of the best of all time. He has expressed interest in wanting to work with him on this farewell run. So, I mean, at this point, really, I guess it would be at Cena's discretion to pick whoever he wanted. But, I mean, there's such respect still for Cena. And like I said, Randy, I love the new guy, the face attitude, but man, I miss seeing him be a heel. I miss it so much.
Well, we still might get it. I mean, we still may get it. Let me get to some more comments here. And I don't know why Chaotic got the emoji, especially after Atomic Titan's comment earlier about 20 minutes ago. But then again, who knows at this point? I mean, really.
It's Atomic Titan.
Well, you know what, though? I got to be honest, and it's funny because Sportswire usually gets all, like, the flack sometimes about, like, the heat on people shooting. But really, on this platform, it's almost been like, we've been tame this week. I mean, all the stuff going on in that company in Texas, Thorne today earlier, and Steele came on that. And
I'm sorry to ask.
nothing. This platform has been nothing, honestly. I've said nothing the whole week. I've had on, like, some really good names, but
Yeah,
yes.
I'm sorry to ask to even bring it up, but what is going on there?
With who? Texas? ESW?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to say what I know, but I heard from one wrestler actually today. He thinks it's basically like storyline.
Okay.
I don't know. Somebody else told me. I mean, Aaron Blaze got into it with what's his name? Was it Austin? Was it Alex G? I think.
Alex.
Yeah, and then I seen other guys' timelines talking about Austin and Alex, and I saw Jake Dvorak post something about it, flashback to his Texas trip, and I be honest, I just from what I heard, it sounds like one wrestler told me it could be a storyline. That's what I personally think. Again, I have no confirmation on it. I have no guarantee on it, but the whole thing is like, even for, I think, Sportswire's taste, I might want to stay out of that one. And usually I'm pretty open-ended at this point. Me, I'm always giving everybody a chance. But let me move on to some comments and some relevant stuff here. Not a fan of Roman with that hoodie or whatever. There are talks about Charlotte Flair returning to go after Nia. Yeah, I mean, what did she get injured about? What, 9 months ago she got injured, right?
December last year.
It's been a while.
So the
She's
timetable would make sense.
I think Bianca would be one, or Jade would be someone good for Charlotte to go right after, because I feel like Nia,
dude.
like, I feel Nia, like, you don't want Charlotte. If Charlotte goes after Nia, it's game over for Nia. I think they want to give Nia a few months to see how she can do before Tiffany Stratton take that belt away from her, because I think that's the eventual plan, because with this whole little team up. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, that's interesting. Was it something, Mr. Chaotic?
Yeah. The thing is, but they've already done the storyline where Charlotte Flair comes back and goes for the title and wins the title. It would be boring to bring that back.
I think Charlotte is one of these people that needs a break from the championship.
Yeah, 100%.
So, I mean, seriously, every month.
I think the only reason they gave it to her is because she has Flair in her name.
100%. That's another name where people get sick and tired of seeing them with the championship. And I think that's I don't know. I think the move is obviously let Nia play this storyline out. If you're going to cash in on Stratton, you go from there. I'll move on to some comments because I see Alan Michaels is getting ready to figure out to lock his back door and take a nap. That was a funny one. Sunday, I don't think you'll be tired on Sunday, right?
Nah, definitely not.
You making sure you'll have a couple of sodas in you. Maybe you'll focus on some eating contest ahead. I think Reed Flair would have been something, but sadly, yeah, that's a good one, right? Reed Flair was, I think, training right when he died, right? Was he training to be a wrestler? I think right around that time, right? That's a good one. Reed Flair's one we'll never know about. That's a good point. Hi to the general manager and owner of Mr. Allen. We love Mr. Allen. We're glad he's here. He's obviously happy he's on this chat rather than dealing with Mr. Chaotic's family members who shall name nameless, and also Mr. Michaels and his friend. Yes, and that's why Mr. Chaotic put the camera on. It's okay. We're not talking TBW test. Everybody can laugh and smile. Wednesday show we had Jacob Young. Well, that was it was almost like talking to the Riddler in a Batman cartoon, but it works for him. Hopefully, we're not filthy stains. There are talks about the New Day breaking up. Well, it's a different New Day, right? Odyssey Jones and maybe Xavier Woods making the turn. Maybe that helps Karrion Kross a little bit. Maybe it revives Xavier Woods' career because they've been Kingston and Woods have kind of been in limbo a little bit. I think that's kind of a good point. Yeah, what's next for Jey Uso? I think what's next for Jey Uso is teaming up with Sami Zayn, right?
Yeah, that's really the only place you can go with Jey at this point.
That's a good point. Okay, let me get to a couple more comments and we'll move on to some final things here. Can we talk about the new Judgment Day getting beat up by Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley? Yeah, I mean, that was a good way to start the show. And I guess we'll see. Do you guys think Priest and Ripley is a long-term alliance, or it's just really, I don't want to say marriage of convenience, because everybody will say, oh, well, they're going to be in a relationship now next. But is there an alliance there of convenience right now, or this is just a short-term thing?
Short-term.
Yeah, I think it's just because of the whole them calling them the Terror Twins. I think that's the only reason why they're teamed up right now.
What?
Alan?
Yeah, I feel like they're always going to be like throughout their careers. I feel like they'll always kind of be intertwined. I feel like they'll always have that brother sister relationship. Like they're always going to be close, kind of.
Yep.
Just not always together.
And Alan, I have to say that I did notice that I can't believe I'm bringing this up again, but I did notice that the backdoor light was off now.
Oh,
it's not outside.
Is Demon Titan there?
You ever watch the movie I Know What You Did Last Summer? Would that be Atomic Titan with the whole lantern almost? Maybe he'll borrow Jacob Young's lantern there and just be standing there with
door open, smoke comes out.
That's the new Atomic Titan gimmick. That could be the new Atomic
Alan, you're gonna hear the gong for the Undertaker. The lights are gonna come out. Someone's gonna jump behind you.
I was just gonna say, Alan and Titan are about to become the Undertaker AJ Styles meme.
Boy, Alan, I really hope that tonight you aren't thinking about the back door and you're just gonna sleep.
Trust me, I'm not.
But
he's gonna wake up to just. Go ahead.
What's next for Jey Uso? Rhea Ripley.
Yeah, I guess.
I think that's a good point. Good point.
But no, seriously. What's next for Jey is like I said. I mean, yeah, having him team up with Sami is cool, but do focus on this Civil War stuff, man. Where's Jimmy? Where's Paul Heyman?
Yeah,
Bischoff was saying.
That's what I was wondering too, because he's showing up at the Fanatics Fest.
Yeah, right.
Well, Bischoff had a line last week, and he was saying that he wouldn't have brought Roman back right away. He would have waited, and he would have built it where he wanted Heyman and Bischoff wanted Heyman and Roman to come back at the same time, and then build it where it's almost like it's a whole one gang versus the other gang. But he feels like, he felt like that they did it, but they didn't need to do it right. He's not saying that it was a disappointment. He got a good reaction, but he's saying that the longer you waited, would you have built more into it? I don't know.
Roman hasn't said a damn word at this point, so we need Heyman so we can hear something.
Well,
that's why I think his point was with Heyman to go with him right away. I don't know. I mean, it's one way to look at it.
I said a while ago that they absolutely should not have had Roman come back before Jimmy. Jimmy should have come back first, reconciled with Jey, and then you bring back Roman.
Yeah. I'm wondering if they're going to do it since Solo's got his heat back after what Roman done to him last week. Are they going to start building into Roman creating his bloodline again?
Now Bischoff's line was that are you going automatically, naturally, Sami, Jimmy, and Jey with Roman?
Yeah. Or you could bring in Zilla, because Zilla's been tweeting what Roman's been saying what Roman's been doing.
I know why you're
You
laughing.
know that Zilla is the most. I can't believe I'm saying this before. Zilla is like every stress. It doesn't matter if I'm with the ROEW guys, you guys. It doesn't matter if I'm with IMF guys yesterday. It doesn't matter if I'm with the WCE guys. It doesn't matter if I'm with the Resi guys. Resi's back next week. It doesn't matter. Any Fed that comes on to Sportswire, Zilla's always, the whole thing is who's Zilla, when's Zilla coming on the stream? And I'm like, you have to ask Zilla that question. Zilla might be the most, requested person in history to speak with. Who knows?
Look,
But
we love him whether he's heel or face. And
yes, well, it's a she. Apparently.
Could you imagine if it was that Zilla the whole time?
Well, I think, you know what? Then I would say, wow, that really is something here. And Zilla likes the Wyatt Six and likes the Final Testament. Thank you, Zilla, for giving us the, I guess, analogy where you can keep everybody happy at once. All right, before I get to final words, because I got to bring Rob Marasco on here in a few minutes. I got to get to an announcement on behalf of my internet radio station. Anything else you want to share on WWE wrestling related before Alan forgets this night ever happened?
AEW, I know we got typical AEW rant. Couple of things I just want to point out. One, that big stadium show like they're going to do next July, like if they can't get their American numbers up in attendance, they're not going to sell out. Like, I don't care what the hater, the naysayers say. Like, they can't fill out a regular arena unless it's a big name. They don't really have a big enough name to attract. Like, you look at WWE, their big events, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, they have the lights of The Rock, Logan Paul, the hopes you see a Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Undertaker. AEW doesn't have those types of names.
They don't have the casual name that makes you want to go and watch their product once in a
I
blue.
don't know. Swerve is dominating right now as champ.
He's dominating, but
does he pull out casual fans to watch? I think that's what Randy's question is. Does he pull out people? Now the ratings were up this week for the first time in a long time. AEW had, I think, almost 100,000 new viewers. I mean, I don't know if that's a permanent thing. I don't know if it's the Olympics. Meltzer was saying, if you believe him, according to Bischoff's pod, but again, Bischoff hates Meltzer. But it's the Olympics. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. That's the question.
I went to Blood and Guts when it was up here in Nashville, and
I think
half of the whole entire arena was completely empty.
I read the other day the last show drew, I think it was not even 1,900 or something like that. Was their last show they just drew, like 1,900. I mean,
right.
And they still have no TV deal. How do you not have a TV deal?
AEW can't come up with stories, but they can come up with really good matches. Really good.
But you got to have, listen, two of you guys are obviously a part of a company that's really the premier product in our circuit. I mean, you guys are the one company that goes out there and gets hundreds of likes, gets hundreds of viewers live at a given time, thousands of views. And you got to have an investment into something, and having Ospreay versus Danielson, having even Jarrett and Danielson, having Jarrett and Page, you having all these guys square off, but if there's no payoff to it,
like Ospreay and MJF, there would have probably been more buys and maybe some more attention if that first match never happened on television, because a lot of people want to see that.
That was so crazy, an hour-long match, and
that really killed them. I think
that's insane.
And then the one thing I just want to point out with AEW, MJF went on a radio station and said the whole thing, the allegation between him and Britt Baker, there was no big argument, whatever. These are two guys that disagree. The thing that I'm having a hard time understanding, why did Britt Baker get suspended for 2 weeks if these are two co-workers who don't get along? Because I've worked places and people don't get along, but to get suspended like that, you have to do something really bad. So unless Britt Baker said something nasty or something bad really happened, something's not adding up here.
You know what it tells me? It tells me that they just re-signed MJF to a lot of money, and they don't want to get him angry. So what they did was they tried to pacify the situation, but what they really did was they put more kerosene on the fire because they suspended her for 2 weeks for really nothing. And now what happens is she's going to go back into that locker room, and it's going to be a very awkward situation, and it's going to now again be more drama outside the ring rather than inside the ring. And it's a company that we talk about all the time that can't ever seem to get that straight where it's focused on the in-ring positivity all the time. Like, listen, Chaotic makes a good point. They've got some of the very best in the world, but we talk more about the drama with Britt Baker. We talked about the Young Bucks situation. We talked about the situation with Jungle Jack Perry, Punk last year. You know, you talk about all these different situations that this locker room has, and, you know, that takes away from the product. And I think that pacifies it, but it only makes the situation worse. So, you know, we'll see. I mean, hopefully AEW gets it right. I mean, they have, again, still a TV deal to get to. And also, let me get to our friend here, Smooth T, who I think is playing along here. Best night of my life. Real Chief solo stands over Roman. Roman can't fight one-on-one. Solo proved already. And Craven Rage says, yeah, that's good. Thank you, Craven Rage, for confirming that. Tom, anyone ever say you look like Matt Hardy? TBK, you look like Eric Rowan? I would obviously say this is somebody who's made up an account, who's having a nice time. Thank you, Smooth T. While you're at it, Smooth T, since you've made an anonymous account and you're obviously a regular commenter or regular contributor to Sportswire Radio, let's say, go make sure you hit the sub button and tell your other friends and your other anonymous friends to hit that sub button, and maybe you'll be back on this platform, because something tells me here, smoothly, you'll be back on Sportswire Radio, because smoothly, this was a good comment, and smoothly, I can assure you, we'll see you here, because anonymously, you really aren't so smooth anonymously. You're rather not so much of a smooth criminal, but at least you did a much more smoother comment than the Xavier Thorne Instagram video that wasn't so smooth. And those videos done by the guys whose last name are G, and Austin and Alex, but really they're just basically probably working the crowd, and who really knows there. But Inevitable, keep up the work. Yes, keep up the good work. Yes, keep up the good work. Thank you, Inevitable.
Mr. Smooth, I have not been called Eric Rowan before, but I have been called Fat Buddy Matthews. So I'll take Eric Rowan.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Also, yes, Inevitable and Smooth T. Hopefully, you hit the sub buttons, although I'm pretty sure I'll see you on this platform very soon. But I got to get to an announcement. I guess I got Rob Maraska. Speaking of people who might be falling asleep, like Alan Michaels, we want to make sure both you guys get that good night's rest. But any other final thoughts? I'm going to go to Alan first, because Alan, I know you're going to be here Sunday, and I know tonight we're having a lot more fun, and I know the door will be closed, thankfully. But the Sunday show, I have a feeling it's get the popcorn ready, get the lounge chair, and make sure that beverage has got plenty of ice in it, because you're going to have a lot to say, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure, 100%. Yeah, if you haven't went and watched episode 167 of the TPW, it's out. It's been out for a week now. I don't know. It was a below average SmackDown, but as in total, I mean, wrestling right now, it's at its peak. It's just getting better and better. And honestly, I can't wait for the next 6 months of wrestling topics.
And TBW is getting better right now, because we've got Summer Bash coming up. We've got big shows. 168 is this coming Thursday. Alan's going to be on it. I think Chaotic's going to be there. I won't mention the rest of the family, but you guys are going to be there. Jacob Young said he's going to be there. And who knows, whatever else you're going to see, it'll be at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. YouTube TBW 2017. TBW closing in on 8,000 YouTube subscribers. I'm just trying to little me get to 1,000. These guys got almost 8,000. So I'm working the ranks up. But don't worry, Alan. You can obviously come on Sunday, and I'm sure it'll be a lot more of a less festive show on Sunday. And I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about there. But good stuff, Alan. Thank you for that. Randy, I'm going with you next. Any closing thoughts? Anything else you want to plug, share, or say? And I pass the baton to you.
Thanks, Tom. Always a pleasure to get an opportunity to speak. Alan Michaels, Chaotic, TBK, always a pleasure to see you guys chat wrestling. Raw, I think, really, like Alan Michaels says, Raw is on fire right now. TBK, SmackDown need to pick it up. But NXT, like, we are seeing some great talent down there that are not getting discussed a lot. Like Roxanne Perez, I think
she was on SmackDown show tonight. They showed her in the crowd. She was there.
Is, like, I think really turning heads on what she's doing. And literally, like, we talk about who's next to carry a division. Like, she's definitely going to be a future of women's wrestling for many years to come on what she's just doing right now. And then on one other thing about NXT, like, I'm really intrigued what they're going to do with Joe Hendry. Like, is he going to really take the NXT title over TNA with him? Are we going to see some other TNA guys come over to NXT to get involved in this? This is a very interesting angle to watch.
It's a good one. That's a good analogy. But we'll have to find out. Obviously, NXT is going to CW Tuesday, October the 1st. So that's coming quicker than a New York Minute. Thank you very much, Randy. You can follow Randy Dillon, Instagram and X. TBK, I'm going to give you the floor next before I go to Mr. Chaotic last, and want to pass the baton to you. Anything else you want to plug, share, or say? Take it away.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me on as always, Tom. Appreciate you. Boys, it's always good to see you. Alan, lock all of your doors and wear a belt. But no, I said it last week and I'll say it again this week. I am super interested in whether there's any validity to the Lucha Brothers coming to WWE. I know it's been posted a lot here lately. My only fear with them is that, I mean, WWE doesn't really have a Lucha division to speak of right now. I mean, there was a Dragon Lee for a little while, and he just straight up disappeared. Ray is kind of incognito at the moment. So I would love to see him there. Ray and Penta are fantastic talents. I hope they don't get lost in the shuffle, but it would be super exciting to see them. And that's pretty much it for me. So thanks for having me, brother.
I appreciate that very much. And before I get to Mr. Chaotic, let me get to a few other comments. MJF, yes, he signed until 2027. Yes, he was signed with my money, not Tony Khan's money. Only kidding there. Smooth comment there, right? I love and like backyard wrestling more than WWE and WWE, NXT, and AEW and ROH. Yes, thank you very much. Yes, thank you, Zilla, for loving all of them. Really appreciate that. I was at WrestleMania Presidential Box Suites, best time of my life. Yes, I'm sure you definitely did that. Hello to Rob Maraska. He'll be here with an announcement in about 2 minutes. My buddy Judas, but I want to give Judas a big shout out. Judas has now officially recovered. He is recovered. He was sick earlier this week. We didn't know it was going to happen. He was in ICU. He was in the hospital for a couple of days. Spoke to him off the air earlier. Glad he's doing well. And I'm looking forward to seeing him on Sportswire Radio in about less than 2 weeks from now. I think Judas is here early in the last week of August, and we'll have more on that. And he is the Evil Angel. We're very happy. And he's in action tomorrow for All Legendary Wrestling. He's really a whippersnapper there, right? I think Chaotic TBW could be the sixth member of the Wyatt Six. You're scaring me, LOL. Just kidding. Speaking of that, Mr. Chaotic, I give you final thoughts. I'm sure I'll see you one day back on this platform real soon. And hope you enjoyed yourself out of the TBW spotlight and just shooting the breeze and keeping Alan Michaels' door closed.
Jesus.
Yeah, I appreciate everyone here, and I appreciate you, Tom, for allowing me to come into here. I'll make this quick and simple. So
no, keep going. You're good. You're good. We're friends. It's okay.
Yeah, if y'all haven't checked out 167, check it out and get ready for Summer Bash because it's going to be a banger. And Alan Michaels, you're probably going to have Atomic Titan in the demon form standing over you while you're asleep.
I still go to, I know what you did last summer. I go with the lantern and the hat, and I just go, Alan, you're going to just really sleep with one eye open tonight.
Alan, like, have a baseball bat or something beside you tonight or something.
Yes, and I know I'll see you real soon on this platform. Real soon. Let's just put it that way. But while you're at it, make sure you hit the sub button, because I know you took the time to get that notification. I know I'll see you on this platform real soon. So make sure you hit the sub button for me, because I'm getting one step closer to 1,000 subs. And yes, Chaotic, I would run too if obviously Alan's door is open. But thank you, guys. I'm going to let Rob take over here, and Smooth laughed, and I laughed too with him because we were having fun. And this isn't the Silver Wolf show. That's why. It isn't the Dark Den podcast, which I'm sure some of these anonymous commenters probably spent time on. But I'll leave that at that. We want to let the professionals be here in prime time, the brightest lights, the biggest stage. These guys are. This is the only platform that it is. And only those that are imitators and amateurs can only try to be what Sportswire is. But fellas, thank you so much. Alan, boy, I pray for you this evening. I'll see you Sunday. Hope you make it. Randy, TBK, Chaotic, I'll see you real soon. Thanks again, guys. Okay, that was boom, boom. That was that. We're going to go like this here. Rob Maraska, good to see you, my friend. We were talking with Alan Michaels. I won't go into too much, but the reason I'm here with you is for a little bit here. I'm going to do about 20 minutes or so with you. Is that you got an announcement of sorts, and I'm curious for the audience what the announcement is, because we were talking about a couple different things last week on the show on Sportswire Radio. So I'm asking you, for those that are listening and watching here, in prime time, the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the only platform where all sports matters, Sportswire Radio, what would be your announcement?
Well, I'm going to announce a new show that me and Chris Isaiah, we're gonna have, and hopefully we're gonna start it next week. Actually, we should have a show up. It's gonna be called the New York Baseball Talk, and obviously it's gonna be Mets Yankees. Me with the Mets, Chris with the Yankees. Sort of like his Talking Rivals show, which shut down right now for a while. Patrick has stuff to do, so we're gonna pick it up. And if that show comes back, we're still gonna do this one. So it's gonna be good. We're gonna probably have the same format, but it's gonna be Mets Yankees. We're gonna have some guests. We're gonna have contests. Baseball talk all year round. New York is one of the towns where you can talk baseball all the time. They're always talking.
So we're going to now, for the audience, it's going to be called the New York Baseball Show, and that's going to be co-hosted by you alongside Chris Pizzea. Chris was the host of the Talking Rivals, and he has obviously put that on hiatus, but he is now going to be hosting this show for you starting, I would say, stay tuned.
Yes. So it's New York Baseball Talk. And we're looking forward to it. I'm gonna do my contests here, and I'm also gonna do contests on that show too. For anyone who's interested in that. We'll have trivia. We'll do a lot of stuff. It's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to doing it. Like I said, we talked about it right before you mentioned it last week.
Yeah, I was mentioning it because I was, like I said, Patrick Trotty. I got to be honest, Patrick Trotty. He did a lot for the station. He definitely was integral early on into Sportswire Radio in the early streams, but really didn't think much of Patrick. I got to be honest. I did not think much of him really promoting the platform or promoting the show. But obviously, look, it's all good. People obviously have their ways of doing things, and he's going into a different direction. And should that show continue, that would obviously be up to them to decide. But I think, look, for another platform, Sportswire, definitely, we are an internet radio station. We offer 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days worth of coverage. We play music, we play talk, we simulcast these shows. So it gives us another opportunity to play another show alongside a slew of our other core shows, the Squared Circle podcast, which is wrestling, the Sit Down Marks is wrestling, a work in progress. Randy Dillon also does his hockey fan chat monthly. Neil Villapiano, Devil's State of Mind, the Pinstripe Chronicles, obviously. And this will be alongside that with Chris hosting the Liftoff Jets. So we have, a nice core roster of shows. We've got about, I'd say about 9 or 10 steady shows, and this will add to it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to doing it. I've been on the Talking Rivals show with Chris and Patrick. Enjoyed it a lot. Like Patrick's work. Patrick's a writer, so he's going to be working on some things. And Chris, I think me and Chris really have a good rap together talking Mets and Yankees. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the show is going to turn out.
Yeah, I think obviously that'll be a whole thing. And if you want to see it, we're at sportswireradio.org. As a matter of fact, I'm going to pull up the Sportswire Radio website. So if you'd like to check out Sportswire Radio, you'd like to check out our website, you actually have an opportunity to do that. And I would encourage you anytime, anywhere, to go and listen to our shows. You can watch this show here or anytime. Listen to it via the Listen Live button on sportswireradio.org. All you have to do is click that link, and it'll actually pop up to this here coming up, and you'll get a chance to see some of this. There you go. So you actually hear it in real time, and that's obviously how you click on it. All you have to do is click that Listen Live button, and the Listen Live button basically connects you right to our internet radio station where it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You get music, you get talk, you get a whole list of other things. So obviously that's our website. You have a list of some of the shows that are on the rotation. You got a whole list of them right actually through here. You have the Devil's State of Mind. That's a part of it. You have so many other great shows here. We have, again, the Pinstripe Chronicles, a work in progress. We have a Liftoff Jets podcast, the Talking Rivals, what used to be on here, Randy's Hockey Fan Chat. We had the Be More Talkative podcast, TBK's show when he was doing it. We have Grappling with Canada, a guy that the tax man, and he doesn't really do it. This one, we're definitely taking off that one. That one's definitely being taken off. Let me just leave that at that. But some really good shows. Check them out there. And, okay, we're looking forward to it. And let me get to a couple of comments on it before I get to it. I'll do about 20 minutes or so on baseball. I might stay on. I don't know yet. I'm going to say it depends on how I feel. I'm going to say 50-50. Stay tuned, as the audience would always say for the people to find out what's going to happen. Yes, we congratulate Rob and appreciate that.
Right.
Okay, so I'll spend a few minutes on baseball. Mets really did not have a great week considering their competition. Nope. They got swept in Seattle, which got swept by Detroit earlier. And then the Mets were up yesterday, which should have been a blowout. Quintana's on the mound. They find a way to lose. But they get a win today and, salvage things. But, the Mets are kind of mired in a little bit of a turbulence, you might want to say. And they've got some really tough games coming up. The schedule does not do them any favors. But for now, the Mets get a win tonight and keep themselves up to pace with the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, the bats broke out a bit tonight. I mean, that series in Seattle was awful. I mean, They were just all right. Seattle, we know, has the best pitching staff, right? But the Mets couldn't hit. It was horrible. It was just that was a wasted weekend. And then you have
home run was the only offense, right?
Yeah, and then you have Oakland coming into Citi Field. You're home. It's the Oakland A's, and they lose 2 out of 3, and they blow a 5-run lead yesterday, which was ridiculous. They just they looked horrible.
Getaway 1:30 game. It's getaway day. You get a whole bunch of runs early, and you blow it, and it's a tough loss. And even Tuesday's game, lifeless the Mets were in just basically the way they performed. And yes, Oakland's playing better. Oakland would won, I think, 14 of their last 20 or 14 of their last 21 games, but inexcusable in the middle of a playoff chase to lose 2 out of 3. And then Seattle, which is really, I mean, they were in first place most of the season. They're pretty much, on the verge of a collapse here. And you can't lose like that, and especially since the Mariners have dropped 4 games in a row since they lose to Pittsburgh, who's had their own issues here. But, Mets, but they do get a win tonight, much-needed win. Braves are obviously playing as we speak against the Angels. They are down now 3-2, so maybe the Mets will get a break. Dodgers beat the Cardinals. That helps the Mets a little bit. But, Mets got a really tough schedule coming up.
Yeah, they definitely do, and they have to be consistent. They have to hit. It's, they can't have it's too late in the season to have these streaks of no one hitting, no one even getting on. They weren't even leaving runners on base because they weren't even getting on base, really. So it was horrible. It's just horrible. But they're lucky the rest of National League is not doing as great as we thought this year. The National League that wild card is just up for grabs. It's ridiculous that.
Well, I think the National League wild card, I think you're starting to see separation. Now, really, it's now become a race between the Braves, the Mets, the Cardinals, the Giants, and I guess you could throw the Reds in there. The Reds lost today to Kansas City, but I think a lot of those teams are now basically out of it. Cincinnati, I think, is on the verge of being out of it. Pittsburgh's done. Washington's done. The Cubs, the Cubs are, I guess, kind of in it, but I don't really think much of them. Really, to me, it's coming to the Giants, the Cardinals, the Mets, and the Braves. Everybody else, I really don't think they're going to last much longer. I mean, again, the Cubs have played a little better, but they still are below 500, and the Reds are also below 500. They're playing Kansas City. Kansas City beats them today. So I kind of think at the end of the day, the Mets are in a race with a handful of teams, whereas about a month ago, everybody was in it with the exception of really the Rockies. So that's kind of where we are in this wild card.
Yeah, well, it's starting to get a little tight there. The Cardinal, like you said, the Cubs,
and we lost Rob Maraska there. We lost him. Hopefully he comes back on here. So we're waiting for Rob Maraska. If you are here out there right now, we're on Sportswire Radio. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice figuratively and literally, where all wrestling matters. And there he goes. Boy, what happened there, Rob? We lost you there.
Yeah, there was a power surge for a second.
Oh, well, as a wrestler called Power Surge, who's actually been on this platform a couple of times, but that's not the power surge. But the Mets had a bit of a power surge tonight. They obviously, took the lead early, but then they were down 2-1. It was sort of a controversial play a little bit. Alonso's foot was off the bag, on the bag. Eventually it was ruled he was off the bag. Marlins took the lead, but the Mets come back and they get 5 runs in the fourth, and Jeff McNeil gets a 2-run homer. And boy, did the Mets need a 2-run homer from Jeff McNeil. It was really just had another awful season. I mean, talk about guys that have just been disappointments. I think he's got to be right at the top of the list.
Yeah, and Nimmo too. Nimmo needed that shot.
Nimmo struggled the last 2 months mightily. They were talking about that during, I think, yesterday's telecast on the radio, and he's really struggled. And he obviously hit a big. I mean, he crushed that ball, that 3-run homer, and they need offense from him. And the Mets got it. The Mets, got what they needed, and they got a big win. They got to sweep the Marlins, Rob. I got to be honest. They got to win here because you got Baltimore and San Diego coming up. This is not going to be easy for them. You really got to get a sweep here. Anything less than a sweep, you're asking for it because you got 3 in Baltimore, you got 4 with the Padres, then you got 6 more coming up. You got. I think you got 3 with the White Sox at the end of it, but you got 10 games on the road because of the U.S. Open. So the Mets really, they're asking for it right now.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, they have to sweep the Marlins because Baltimore is right. I mean, the Yankees are back to being the Yankees, right? They now have the most wins in baseball, but Baltimore is right there. So we know when the Mets go into Baltimore, we know Baltimore is going to be tough. The Mets, it's really the next 2 weeks are really crucial for the Mets.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Mets, again, they just came off a long road trip. Now they're going on to another. And, that's why you got to take 3 here. You got to take a team that's 30-plus games, under 500, a team that's probably heading for an 100-loss season. You got to win these games because you got 3 with Baltimore, and that's going to be no picnic. The Padres have been red hot. The Padres are now actually chasing the Dodgers. The Padres and Diamondbacks, they're not just going for a wild card. They're going to win the National League West, and the Mets have them. They have the Padres and Diamondbacks coming up here. So, I mean, this does not get any easy. Really, after this Marlins series, you've got maybe some of the most difficult games of the season. This could, I know we were talking about it last week on the show, but this very well could be a make or break for the Mets season.
Yeah, you're right. This definitely is going to be the make or break part of the season. Listen, San Diego's only 2 games out.
Yep.
The Dodgers are ahead by 2 games. So San Diego's right there. San Diego is going for that division, definitely. All of a sudden, St. Louis in the Central is still under 500, but, they're in second place.
Well, I think Milwaukee's got the division. I think now
definitely.
What we're talking about is wild card, and really the Mets, their teams they're competing with are the Giants, the Cardinals. I'll throw in the Reds, I guess the Cubs, and obviously the Braves. But to me, really, it's going to wind up being, if the Mets are lucky to be in, it's going to be probably a 3-team race between them, the Braves, and the Giants. I don't think St. Louis has got the horses to hang in.
Yeah.
The Cubs really haven't shown you much. Could they have consistency? And Cincinnati, again, I would say probably they've been hurt by some injuries. They played a little better lately, but I'm not convinced that they're going to be able to hang in. But, we'll have to see. But I think that's really where the Mets competition. But again, this is really make or break for the Mets season.
Yeah, it definitely is. So they better be consistent this weekend. They better hit. No more slumps. I mean, it's just, you remember the beginning? Remember in May when we couldn't even watch the Mets and we thought that was it? We said, like we thought that was it. The season was done already in May, and then they had that great June, and July was all right. They came back so they did give us some excitement, but that could die in the next 2 weeks. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's unfortunately that's baseball. Baseball's full of roller coasters. It's a full of swings, and could the Mets swing and miss? Time will tell. TBK was just on the stream, wanted to talk about a couple things here. Yep, that's giving us a lot of credit. He's talking about the Orioles. With Craig Kimbrell still around, anything is possible for any team, and a very rare occurrence in tonight's game as well. Burns struggled to get out of an inning, even giving up a 3-run homer. Only saving grace could be Felix Bautista showing signs of coming back. And listen, the Mets are going to get a front row seat at this Orioles team, and we'll obviously find, again, the Orioles and the Yankees seem like they're on a crash collision course for the American League East, and that'll start Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Wednesday's a 1:10 game, so you don't have too many of those left in the season because it's getaway day, school, and backpack giveaways, whatever else it is. But, again, we'll see what happens with them. And, again, the Mets really, they're going to – listen, they got a lot of tough games, and the whole season really comes, with the exception of a few series at this point, are going to be tough ones to go through.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm looking forward to the Baltimore series. I like watching Baltimore. Baltimore's a fun team. And you know what? They worry me. So hopefully the Mets could hit in that series, or else they're in trouble.
Well, they're going to have to. But Boston toppled the Orioles today, as TBK alluded to, 12-10. And Baltimore, again, Baltimore and the Yankees. Unfortunately, the Yankees took first place today. They beat the Tigers 3-0. And again, just a whole bunch of other scores of note for those that are listening and watching here on Sportswire Radio. Rays 5, Diamondbacks 4, Royals 7, Reds 1. Alluded to that. Pirates beat the Mariners 5-3. Mariners are in a free-for-all right now. Looks like Houston's in full control. Phillies get back on track 3-2 over the Nationals. Cubs get a win over the Blue Jays 6-5. Cubs obviously sort of in the peripheral edge. Twins beat the Rangers. I think we pretty much now can stick a fork in the Rangers. Rangers look done. Bochy continues every other year after winning a World Series. He collapses. White Sox get a big win, though. How about those White Sox? Break them up. Winners suddenly of 2 of their last 4 games, maybe their best stretch in months or years. They do beat the Astros 5-4. Maybe Grady Sizemore's turning them around. I don't know. Brewers get a win over the Guardians 5-3. That's important because the Twins and the Royals are also chasing anything else. Dodgers 7, Cardinals 6, alluded to it. Rockies 7, Padres 3. So some other scores to note. And any other keys Met-wise that you thought are important going into these next few days?
That bullpen. I mean, the Mets bullpen worries me. The middle guys, they got to do something. It's been like a revolving door. They bring this one in, they bring that one in, they release this, they DFA this one. It's just the middle relief has been a mess, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of been the Mets' Achilles heel, and I think they're going to have to figure it out. I think we were talking about it during the game, that the Mets have blown, 4 or 5 games with 5-run leads or more, something like that.
Yep.
I think it was. I mean, that could be the difference. Why this team doesn't make a playoff spot. I mean, that's, yesterday's game was an example. There were several games in that month of May where the Mets had leads and the Mets blew them. And, I mean, I guess the bright sides are obviously Lindor's continued to heat up. He's obviously an MVP candidate. Alonso's moving one step closer to 30 home runs. He's up to 26 now. He's hit a couple recently. Obviously had a few issues with the bag play. But, offense, some guys are starting to step up. But I agree with you, though. I think if I'm looking at this team right now, Nimmo and McNeil have to step it up. Because if they don't step it up, that's going to hurt this lineup. Because these guys, I mean, Nimmo, I think a good first month or two. But since then, I mean, they were talking about, what was he on, like an 0-for-17 or an 0-for-19 streak going into today's play. And he's been struggling mightily, and they really need him to pick it up. And McNeil, he's at times shown you in the second half, but I mean, this was a guy might have been the Mets' best hitter over these past several years, and he's just not been able to get it going whatsoever.
No, but at least he's been hitting better since the All-Star break.
Yeah.
Okay. He's been hitting. I mean, the first the first half of the season, he was horrible, and he was not the same player.
Yeah, he's got 12 home runs. The batting average is up a little bit. I mean, you're seeing some flashes. I agree with you on that. The power, you've gotten a power surge with him. Again, going back to the power surge line, a power surge in the second half here.
Yeah, but still, they need more out of these guys, definitely. I mean, I'm happy with Lindor. I'm happy with his play, like you said, MVP, type season in there at least for the MVP. He's doing what we expected him to do, years ago. It took him a couple of years.
Listen, I think other than the first year, I mean, the last couple of years, the numbers have been good. I mean, look, obviously the batting average has not been what it was, but I mean, if you look at his numbers, I mean, offensively, again, you look at his numbers as a Met, I mean, they've been still, listen, 26 and 107, 31 and 98 last year, 23 and 61. So, I mean, offensively, he's been there. You're just not getting the guy that was, having a high batting average. But in terms of just his offensive production after the first year, I think the numbers have been there. And I think that's what you've gotten. You got 20 again, 20, 23 homers, like 24 steals, something like that, 30 doubles already. So, you've definitely gotten those signs, and he's kept the Mets in there, and he's been there, I would say, probably most consistent hitter the entire year, which is why, they have, I mean, Vientos has obviously had some huge moments for them, no question. I mean, Vientos has just been, a stud, but I think overall Lindor has been the Mets' best offensive player.
Definitely he has this year, and the past couple of years, he's been the Lindor that we wanted. Vientos, you know what? The Mets in the beginning of the year, I guess they didn't really realize what they had with him. If he was here from the start, things might be a little different. But they sent him down out of spring training. I don't know. They should have just brought him back to New York. But whatever, you can't change that. But, I'm happy with him. He's excellent, I think. I like him. He's exciting young kid playing. Definitely.
Absolutely. And I think that's going to be something to watch for sure. You'd obviously like a little more from Martinez. I mean, Martinez hasn't quite had the year that you hope for. Definitely a down season from him. Like you said, McNeil's picked it up offensively a bit in the second half. Alvarez has certainly not had the home runs you saw from him last year. Alonso, I think, has hit a little bit better with the home run ball in the second half. Bader's kind of had, kind of what, you're really not a terrible, you're kind of an average kind of season for a guy like in his position. You happy with that? Like you said, Nimmo, hopefully this is the start of things. Hit the 3-run homer. Pitching wise, Quintana's got to step it up. That start, you can't blow a lead like that. And anything else on the starting pitching you want to bring up?
No, it's just I just wanted to mention that with with Martinez, he was good. He's good for the clubhouse, though. He's been all right. But in the clubhouse, I think he's been better.
12 home runs, what was it, about 50-something RBIs. Now, I mean, it's not a horrible year, but this is a guy that's put up some monster numbers. So to have, those kind of numbers, you're a little bit down in production. There's no question that the production is down. You obviously are a veteran. You got these games left, and he's been a guy who's played in the postseason a lot, but I'm looking at it right now, really. Guys like Quintana can't have starts like the way that they had.
No, Quintana has been, he worries me every time he pitches. I'm telling you never know what you're going to get with him. He could pitch in a gem and then have a couple of really sucky games. So he's not consistent. He worries.
And Paul Blackburn's got to have a better start than the one we saw from him on Tuesday. I mean,
his first two games as a Met were good. He had that bad start against Oakland, So hopefully he bounces back. I want to say something about Alvarez too. It seems like every time whenever he gets hurt and he comes back, he's slow. He starts off slow. and it takes him a while to get into the groove of things. That's like every time he's out, it takes him a while.
Well, sometimes you need a rhythm, more or less. Okay, let me get to TBK before I move on to a few final things. Curious to get your thoughts on both holidays being called up in Santander, being an interest in an Oriole until the end of his career. I mean, look, I think Holiday is a guy we talked about early at the season, talked about a guy that a lot of people really, looking from a lot for. I know you spoke about it here on prior shows on Sportswire early in the season. And, you're obviously looking for something from him now. Team could use a spark. Team has definitely struggled a bit. So we'll see if now he can get it together. And as for Santander, look, you want to be able to, with a team with a lot of momentum, a lot of upswing, and see if you could keep him here. But again, going back on the last part of it, it's a franchise. The Orioles really don't lock guys up and give them big money contracts. I mean, the Orioles, I don't want to say they're a small market in the vein of the Marlins, but tend to be a mid-market kind of franchise. So they're going to pick and choose their spots. And this is an Orioles team that has really rebuilt themselves based through the draft, based through smart decisions. They've obviously made some trades and a few free agent signings here and there has progressed. But, a team like the Orioles, it may make a decision based on a move like that, depending on how they do this last, 40 some odd games and then going into the postseason pretty much.
But something, and TBK should be happy about this, because I like hearing that Santander says he's interested in staying an Oriole for his whole career. Okay. I like when guys say that, because too many guys move. We know it's about the money. And like you said, we know Baltimore doesn't really sign guys to long-term contracts, because of the money. But I like hearing that from him. I like hearing him say that he would like to be an Oriole for the rest of his career.
Yeah, and I think obviously you look at how big of a, he's obviously been a guy the last couple of years. It's definitely had some monster numbers, but this year he's been really, I think second in the American League in home runs, if I'm not mistaken. And he's, a guy that's been an integral part to the Orioles, turnaround these past few years. And obviously, as a fan, you want to see guys like him stay here for a long time because he's hitting the peak of his career. He's, I think, 29 or 30. So you're obviously looking at the prime of his career. You're looking at the peak. And, I think those are things you're obviously looking at. You're looking at, Gunnar Henderson. You're obviously looking at Santander. You're looking at, Cedric Mullins we've talked about here on the show before. You're looking at, Mountcastle. You're looking at, Rushman. So they've got a core list of guys, and, you obviously want to see them together. Westberg's another one of them. So, we'll wind up seeing what happens here. But obviously the announcement here was today that Rob Maraska and Chris Pizzea, Chris is the host of the Liftoff Jets, will be having their own show. It's New York Baseball Talk, right? New York Baseball Talk. And that's going to air depending on things either next week or the following week. And that'll be here on sportswireradio.org throughout the week. And it'll also be, I'm imagining, on Spotify, iTunes, and other places you can get your podcast. Chris is also the co-host of the Liftoff Jets alongside Sharman Phillip. They talk about the Jets. They talk about the NFL. And Rob is here. He's our senior baseball analyst. He's been the longest tenured analyst in Sportswire radio history, 5+ years he's been on the show. And he's going to continue in his role as a senior baseball analyst, also being here on Friday shows. Next Friday, we're probably preempted because ADT is back. Yes, not the security system. ADT. He is the Alliance Wrestling League champion. He has requested a return to Sportswire Radio. So we may or may not be back. It just depends on the time. But we might be here for an abbreviated show. So it's possible we might get the guys together after 11. But we are good to get the regular show back. We had a nice little turnout today. We're definitely going to be back in September for sure, starting after Labor Day. But potentially we're here next week. We don't know yet for sure, but ADT is back. It all depends on the time that he gets off the air. But we might do an abbreviated show, talk about a couple things in the world of WWE, talk about who knows, whatever else. So good stuff there. Anything else you want to share before closing thoughts?
Real quick, and here we go with the death thing. But I just wanted condolences to the family of ex-Met, former Met Mike Cubbage passed
Yes.
away. He was also
Met coach, right?
manager for the Mets, and
Coach,
he only
yeah.
played one season for the Mets, though. But
Right.
just wanted to
Coach.
mention that.
He coached for the Mets, right? He was like a third base coach
Yeah.
too, right? Third
Yeah,
base.
he was a coach, and then he was interim
scout.
manager for like 9 games.
Oh wow, the dubious 9-game managerial, and that was he replaced what? Bud Harrelson, right?
Yeah, so I just wanted to mention that. And other than that, thanks, Tom. You know, this was a good 20-minute show, and I enjoyed the wrestling show.
We did actually a little more than that. We did about 25 actually. So we was a bonus.
Yes, I listened to the whole wrestling show before me. It was
tonight was nice. It was a lot of fun. We talked a little bit of WWE. It wasn't, in Sportswire, and some guys that are here in the chat will attest to this. I do a lot of backyard, and we do some British wrestling. I haven't done it as much really because the time zone doesn't really link up, and it's hard because you have to go on their schedule to get it really to sync up. But really, what's carried Sportswire really to why, we have like the following that we have is really the backyard and the underground wrestling circuit. And, we didn't do it so much tonight. We had more talk on WWE, which was kind of fun. People got a chance, like TBK and Randy got a chance to voice their opinion, which is always good. It takes a little bit of a break from that. But we had a nice crowd, and we did well. And, I think it was good to do a little bit of baseball. I know college sports is coming back to Sportswire. We're going to do a little bit of 5 towns. The soccer teams are actually, their schedules just came out, so they're going to be coming back onto the platform in the next month or so. So we'll have that. We're going to do a little bit of basketball again. I ain't going to do a lot of basketball because I just do so much backyard, but we will have some basketball is going to come back onto the station. I'm going to definitely do some of that. So, we'll have a mix of things. Fridays is still going to be open to 10. We're back on Fridays. We've had now, you were here for about 25 minutes. We had Chris and you last week. We did some WWE. So, we're doing different things on Sportswire. We have a bunch of shows coming up here on the tank. And, I'm excited about that. If you haven't yet, hit the sub button for us at YouTube at Sportswire Radio 6579. We're closing in on 1,000 subscribers, which is a really big thing. So I hope that people, go out there and, go support us on all these platforms. And, I'm looking forward to the baseball podcast. It'll be one more time, New York baseball talk. And I hope that people, would like to tune into that. That'll be on sportswireradio.org. And I think that's the gist of it. Also follow you on Instagram. It's Facebook, X at Rob Maraska. R Maraska is on X. Facebook, Rob Maraska. So,
yep.
Okay.
Thanks, Tom.
All right. Well, that's great stuff there. We spoke a little bit of everything tonight. I want to thank, obviously, the guys that tuned in earlier with us to hang out. That was TBK, who was in the chat, Randy Dillon, host of the Hockey Fan Chat, Alan Michaels, who's worried about, I won't even go into that, at the door, Chaotic from TBW. He is a part of the Prophecy family, won't mention his father. And we were joined by a bunch of people in the chat. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice, figuratively and literally, where all wrestling matters. I'm going to be here tomorrow night, which is tonight now, New York time, with Eddie Exile. Eddie Exile is going to be in a match coming up here. It's a really important one. I'll talk about it tomorrow. And also I'm here with Alan Michaels again when Alan Michaels talks. It'll be, let's just say, a shoot style type of interview, which means he's going to be saying some things he's probably normally not going to say. So you won't want to miss that. Thank you so much, everybody, for your support. And until then, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the number one global radio station that is Sportswire Radio, where all wrestling and all sports matters. Thank you so much.